The supreme mystery of life and death. We shall not now write for you what seems like an insoluble paradox or an impossibility of nature, but it is a fundamental nevertheless. Please carve it indelibly upon your consciousness now, and await its gradual comprehension, as other unknown fundamentals of nature will be gradually revealed to you herein. It is as follows. All material bodies, organic and inorganic, live and grow by increasingly fast motion. They also die and decay by increasingly fast motion. This eternal fact of nature has always stared man in the face very conspicuously, without having been seen. Ever so great a thinker and observer as Albert Einstein passed it by when he wrote his equation in 1905, which states that fast motion multiplies electrical potential. That fact of nature is true, but as it is equally true that fast motion divides potential, his whole equation is invalid as a law. For a half-truth which voids itself cannot become an eternal law. It is not to be wondered at this fact of nature escaped observation by the senses, for man is so accustomed to the fact that effects disappear through slow motion and that death is consummated by cessation of motion. The senses are not to be trusted, however. When you fully understand the above postulate, you will also understand the incredible death speed of plutonium radiations, which are approximately 170,000 miles per second. The fastest speed of nature is 186,400 miles per second. That is the general active speed in which light waves reproduce to create living bodies of matter. In the creation of matter, the genero-active polarizing centrifugal speed, which multiplies to create solids, begins with 0 as the first octave, and it reaches its maximum genero-active speed of 186,400 miles per second at carbon, which is the maturity of creation. This is the increasingly fast speed which multiplies potential. It is centrifugal. From there it begins its radioactive depolarizing centrifugal speed at 0 and reaches 186,400 miles per second just beyond plutonium at the amplitude point of the 9th octave wave. This is the increasingly fast speed which divides potential to assist matter to die. It is centrifugal. Up to nearly that point, the word fusion has taken the place of combustion. But beyond it, the speed of death is so great that the word fission has been coined to meet it. The speed of flame by fission causes one short circuit in about 100 millionth of a second. Its actual speed could be computed by dividing the speed of light into the time it takes for one wave frequency. Thus we end another lesson in unfolding your comprehension to the meaning of multiplied death, before again opening new doors for still greater comprehension of the true nature of our universe. Summary. New thinking is very difficult. We will make it easier to comprehend by telling it simply and in easy stages. As a first step in this direction, you must know that life in a man's body is exactly the same as life in your car battery. As long as its electrical charge exceeds its discharge, it lives and grows with increasing vitality. When its discharge exceeds its charge, it loses its vitality and slowly dies. This is as true of a flower as of a man or atom or flaming sun. We again repeat the fact that all things live and grow because of their ability to generate enough heat to charge their bodies with their normal voltage and no more. Each living body has a normal temperature and pulsation frequency, which must be constant in order to live and grow. Death begins with the slightest upset of that normalcy. Even 1 degree of extra heat beyond 98.6 will upset the entire metabolism of man. That 1 degree of fever is 1/5 of his way to death. That is equally true of everything. Our planet already has 1 degree of fever caused by radioactivity. That 1 degree has already upset the Earth's metabolism, enough to cause many fishes in the sea to migrate into colder waters. It is causing ice caps and glaciers to melt. 10 more degrees of radioactive fever will make of this planet a barren waste. All things which die and decay do so because of their inability to continue the electric strain of compression sufficiently to preserve their normalcy. All living bodies compress, all dying bodies expand. This should not be a difficult first lesson upon life and death, for compression and expansion are the only 2 effects of motion and force in all this universe. Also, all things in it are eternally compressing and expanding in alternate sequences forever. Your heartbeat, your breathing, and the pulsations of every cell in your body are continually compressing and expanding in orderly, ordained, normal rhythms, each unit having its own normalcy of rhythmic frequencies, and each one being not only in balance with the whole, but also in balance with its normal environment. Consider a living man in his normal environment of temperatures and pressures, being subjected to an electric pulsation frequency of 10,000 volt current. That tremendous abnormalcy expands every cell in his body so suddenly that they violently explode. All expanding bodies are always exploding slowly over long periods of time. We do not use that word for slow expansion, however. We do not say that a decaying tree, which takes 50 years to go back into the ground, is exploding. If you burn it, however, the flame is a series of quick explosions which will do in 2 hours what nature intended should take 50 years. Consider your car battery in the same way. If small wires are used, the charge in your battery explodes slowly. You can drive hundreds of miles because of those slow, gradual explosions which gradually discharge your battery. If, however, you connect both poles with a large wire and touch the ends together, you discharge the whole battery instantly. A brilliant flash of intensely hot flame appears from that environment which was cold. That is what radioactivity is. It multiplies the frequencies of slow, invisible radiation to fast, visible radioactive fusion. If, for another example, you wind a tungsten wire with silk, then pass 100,000 volt current through it in a vacuum tube, you will see a brilliant white flash of intensely white-hot light, which lasts for only about 1/millionth of a second. That light is so hot that it instantly explodes the tungsten. Nothing but helium gas remains in the tube. Also, those radioactively multiplied voltage frequencies are so quick that the silk thread has not been even singed. Fix in your mind the primary fact that flame and radioactivity are one. Flame is quick death, always. Coal dies slowly by slow loss of heat while in the ground. It takes thousands of years to radiate itself away, while flame does it in an hour. If you multiply the frequencies of flame, you are likewise multiplying its power to quicken the death of anything. A sulfur match will not produce a hot flame. It will burn wood slowly, but it will not set iron on fire. The hotter flame of the I can't pronounce that word. Acetylene torch will set iron on fire, however, but it will not set granite or concrete on fire. If you multiply the radioactive power of flame still more by making an, oxylize, that word again with oxy. Well, you can maybe see it there. By making an oxylighting flame, you can then electrocute granite or concrete. It will burst into flame and slowly disappear. These great radioactive heat and multiplied frequencies are nothing, however, as compared to the intense heat which nuclear fission produces with plutonium, barium, radium, and other radioactively explosive elements. They are a far cry from the flame power produced by the sulfur match. These elements have made a match for man which has produced a heat so great and so quickly that it has utterly destroyed millions of tons of rock deep down in an island and vaporized other millions of tons of seawater in a millionth of a second. The heat thus so timelessly generated is greater than the hottest part of our sun. That is what we mean by describing radioactivity as quick death. If it could be possible to transport 100-ton lump of the sun to our earth, it would drop through it as readily as a bullet penetrates the atmosphere. Call it radioactivity, fission, fusion, or what you will. Its principle in nature is the release of a frozen body from its imprisonment by releasing its binding tensions. It is the relaxing principle of nature. It is the restoration of tense matter to its natural state of equilibrium. How radioactivity kills. I'm thinking right now because I watched something about the Higgs boson. This is me interjecting. I watched something, and I'm not all that great at science. But let me run this by you if I can get it out of myself. They were talking about the Higgs boson, which is a little small particle of matter, the smallest they think they've ever found. And in the discussion about that, they were talking about their mathematics and how their mathematics don't work unless there's symmetry. And symmetry, perfect symmetry, is perfect balance. And that was one of their problems. They said, our equations would get rid of everything, our earth, ourselves, our trees, everything, because perfect equilibrium is disintegration of everything back into its oneness. And I guess that oneness is thought, is God, is consciousness. But I think consciousness has worked real hard to get us where we are. And we don't want to be perfectly balanced just yet. Our imperfections are necessary to keep us in a body. Our lack of perfect symmetry is necessary. And I'm just trying to figure out how that relates to this. We want to be like God, and God is perfect, and God is a consciousness that is still, that doesn't move, but it's powerful. It's where we get our power from. But if we ever were to reach perfect symmetry or perfect balance, we wouldn't be anymore. And the universe wouldn't be anymore. So that's something to think about. As we sit in meditation by our fireside, let our imaginations wander a bit. Here we sit in perfect comfort. Our room is warm. We can go to bed when we wish, sleep in comfort all night. We are not hungry. We have good bodies. Our temperatures are 98.6 as they should be. Our pulses are normal as they should be. Everything about us is normal. We can get up in the morning, have breakfast, go to town in a ready waiting car, plan our day's work and evening relaxation without fear of interference, because everything outside our home is as normal as it is at home. That is what you want, is it not? It is not that what all civilization, is not that what all civilization is striving for? Is it not a fact that human happiness, health, safety, prosperity, and all things worthwhile depend upon the normalcy of our environment and our human relations? Our temperature could not remain at 98.6 if this planet could be pushed 5 million miles nearer to the sun. Our temperature would rise. We would have a fever in several points. Naturally, that could not be done, but its equivalent could be done by the use of radioactive fission. Our normal life could quite easily be made unhappy and dangerous if the town's water supply became polluted, or 100 other things which could happen to you in your home, or to the town or nation which would upset your normalcy. Epidemics of typhus, polio, smallpox, and many other things have upset the normal growth of individuals and nations. 2/3 of Middle Europe were wiped out by bubonic plague. A war tomorrow might draft you out of your comfortable home, your bed, your work, and your relaxation. Your own desired normalcy can be ended in a flash, and an abnormalcy take its place which you do not desire. Instead of a happy Hungarian family and a comfortable home of this minute, some are dead and some are in prison or exiled in Siberia in the next hour. This is true, is it not? It is quite a familiar picture to the whole world, and not one person in all the world remains untouched by the abnormalities which have upset the great orderly rhythmic growth which nature intends for all creating things, and will give to them if they cooperate with nature in keeping that normal rhythm of her orderly unfolding of all creating things. Normalcy of environment is a necessity of all creation. Elderwise was not grown in a valley. No one would attempt to raise tropic fruits in Canada, nor could polar bears survive in Florida. If you knew that certain actions of man would so change the normalcy of your environment that it would cause an epidemic of bubonic plague, would you not rise en masse with your neighbors to prevent it? Of course you would. Bubonic plague would be a mild and transient effect as compared with what is now being planned for the human race, for many would survive it and future centuries would forget it. Not so with radioactive fission, however, for none would survive to forget it. We wish to demonstrate and explain to you why oxygen-dependent vegetable and animal life could not again appear upon this earth for 20 or 30,000 years if man's plan is consummated. And now here is a chart that shows the red and the blue side. The universe is a 9-stringed harp. These 5 elements constitute 98.5% of all human, animal, and vegetable bodies. Primary killer metals, alkaline. Visible general active elements, invisible general active elements, carbon equator elements. And on the other side it says plutonium and Neptunium. I can't pronounce that. Growth of matter is maximum at carbon. It matures at wave amplitudes as hot sphere and cold cube. The 9 octaves of matter. This electric universe is a harp of 9 wave strings. It produces matter by the vibration of its strings, exactly as a harp produces sounds. Different substances and different sounds are analogous. All matter consists of tonal vibrations. Matter is not substance. It will be interesting and enlightening to again use your imagination regarding your comfortable and safe position in the universal house of the human race and other organic life. To aid the picturing of the position of organic life in this universe, we are printing a map of the entirety of creation for you to see it as a whole. Figure 5 tells that whole story of creation, and your safe house within its dangerous surroundings will be, which we will point out to you later. That safe house of yours in our universe is indicated by a triangle which bounds its walls of safety. You will see it right near the middle of the map. Let's scroll down and see if that map. I don't see it. Maybe that map isn't pictured. That triangle is the limit of your safe environment. Beyond it you cannot go, for there are 22 vicious killers in the far reaches of the environment which surround your house, which you cannot see. You need have no fear of them, however, for nature has chained them very securely, so they cannot hurt you while so securely imprisoned. Man is planning to alter nature's plan, however, and release them into your environment, even within your very house. These killers are the invisible, metallic death rays, which penetrate every cell of your body with ultra-microscopic poison, metal bullets, at speeds of around 160,000 miles per second. These killer metals, which are soon to multiply to uncountable millions, will await you in your drinking water, which will be polluted from underground over the whole region of atomic activities from buried atomic waste. They will await you in your food, for every grass blade will take it into the beef you eat and the milk you drink. They will also await you in every breath you take, for miles of it will accumulate in the upper atmosphere, to fall upon the earth increasingly year by year. Do not find comfort in assurance that you can be protected from it. We will consider that later, but you can no more be protected from it than you could protect the dryness of earth from becoming wet when it rains. Neither can this planet be protected from the rise in its whole temperature, which alone would so change the earth's environment that all life would be impossible. The universe might very appropriately be likened to a harp of 9 strings with 9 tones in each string. In our diagram, the strings are all indicated as of the same length for simplicity. In nature, the lower string is the longest. They grow gradually shorter up to the 9th. Likewise, the tonal positions and frequencies change in each string. In every case, each note on each string is 1 octave higher than its next lower string. You will note that each string begins with a 0 and ends with a 0. These are the key notes of each octave. They are the cathodes of every electric anode. They are called inert gases, such as helium, neon, argon, krypton, etc. They are the seed of all matter and the supreme mystery of matter. In them is the answer to the great mystery of life and death, which shall be deferred for full explanation in chapter 11 of this book, after preparation for its comprehension in the pages which intervene. Perhaps you may better understand our meaning by a study of your piano keyboard. There are only 7 tones there. Each 8th tone is the same as the beginning note, except it is 1 octave higher. The reason for that change is due entirely to pressure mathematics. Compression pressure has reached a position where the vibration frequencies have multiplied in cube ratio. If you put a book up on the top of an organ pipe, you will find that its tone will jump to just 1 octave higher. Like the low tones of a harp, the low spectrum tones of the cosmic harp are of such, like the low tones of a harp, the low spectrum tones on the cosmic harp are of so few frequencies that they cannot even be perceived by human senses until the 3rd string is reached. Up to 1926, only one of those tones has been perceived. But at that time, the Russell charts numbered 1 and 2 in the introduction were published, which completed all of the octave tones of that third octave. Also, up to the issuance of the Russell charts in 1926, the chart then in use was known as the Mendeleev Table of the Elements. In that chart, hydrogen was the only element shown in that otherwise empty third octave, an impossibility in nature which creates all units in pairs and all octaves in 4 pairs. The Russell charts complete this deficiency. Also, hydrogen and its octave were shown without an inert gas preceding it. This is as impossible in nature as the growing of a tree without a seed is impossible. Also, hydrogen was placed in the first column instead of the fourth column under carbon. Hydrogen has never been suspected as being carbon, 1 octave lower, as silicon is also carbon, 1 octave higher. The reason that each succeeding tonal note, which constitutes the elements of matter, are 1 octave higher is one entirely of increased pressure. You can better understand that by compressing some air in an enclosed box or tube in which you have inserted a whistle. The more air you pump in, the higher the whistle will sound when you open its valve. If you tighten a wire, the same thing will happen. The same harp string can give you as many tones if you turn the tuning pins higher or lower. By the time the first octave string has multiplied in cube ratio 9 times, the speed of vibration, frequency, and intensity of pressure have reached the incredible proportions of, and this is a big number with 10 digits, 1,000, 073, 741, 824, I guess that's billions or trillions, times greater in the 9th string than the first. That's quite a much bigger proportion. You can better imagine the tremendous explosive pressures which lie behind radium and plutonium bullets by actually seeing the pressure figures. Try it. Start with the first octave at 8. By cubing 8, it equals 64. Then 512. Then 4096. The carbon octave comes next with pressures of 32,768. These are your normal pressures as well as for all organic, animal, and vegetable life. When you cube your normal pressures, you are running into dangers. Nitrogen, for example, is phosphorus when cubed once, and it is arsenic when cubed twice. Nitrogen is necessary for you, but phosphorus and arsenic will immediately eat up the nitrogen of your body and kill you by their radioactive expansion. Oxygen is sulfur when cubed once to equal 262,144 pressures. Sulfur will kill you, however, for sulfur is the dying body of oxygen, and you cannot eat your dying body. If you ignite sulfur, it will consume oxygen. If you cube oxygen 5 times, you arrive at the deadly radium, uranium, plutonium octave with its tremendous pressures of over 1 billion. These are the very nearly dead bodies of the elements which constitute the universal body. The reason that these bodies poison you is the simple fact that you cannot eat the dead bodies of parts of your own living body. If we cannot survive the P-T-O-M-A-I-N-E, potamine poisoning of slightly decayed, I think that's ptomaine. Anyway, poisoning of slightly decayed fish, how can we possibly survive the maximum purity which radioactivity is? The deadly strontium octave reaches